Your support agent works fine in staging. Then production gets a model response wrapped in a code fence, with a trailing comma near the end. The parser throws. Your code politely asks the large language model, or LLM, to try again. It returns almost the same thing. The worker retries until the queue is backed up, and the user sees a spinner. This is the boring outage, not reasoning failure, not tool failure, just invalid JavaScript object notation, or JSON, handled with infinite optimism. The first try usually looks like this. Call the application programming interface or API, get text, run json.loads, and if it fails, send a vague prompt. Please return valid JSON. That breaks for two reasons. First, many failures are mechanical. Code fences, smart courts, and trailing commas do not require model intelligence. Paying for another model call is slow and expensive. Second, if you do re-ask, the model needs the actual error. Without it, it is guessing. The worst version is an unbounded loop that keeps apologizing and retrying with no evidence preserved. Use a ladder. Step 1. Parse the responses JSON exactly as received. Step 2. If parsing fails, run deterministic repairs for boring formatting damage. Deterministic means the same input always gets the same output, and the repair rules are small enough to review. Step 3. If parsing or validation still fails, re-ask the model once, including the exact parse or validation error. Step 4. After 2 total attempts, fail loudly. Return an error to your harness, log the raw text, the repaired text, and every exception. Reliability comes from bounded behavior, not politeness. Build 3 separate functions. Repair JSON text takes a string and returns a string. It strips a leading and trailing code fence, removes trailing commas before a closing brace or bracket, and normalizes curly double quotes to plain double quotes. Parse JSON calls the standard library parser. Validate checks the shape you promised the rest of the program. For example, object has title as string, priority as one of low, medium, high, and tags as a list of strings. Then write parse or re-ask. It loops at most 2 times, tries repair, parse, validate, and only then asks again with the error. Suppose you ask the model to classify a support ticket. You expect title, priority, and tags. The response is a code block labeled JSON, and inside it has a trailing comma after the tags array. Your first parse fails. Repaired JSON text strips the fence and removes that comma. Now parsing works. Validation runs next. If priority is urgent, and your schema only accepts low, medium, or high, that is not a formatting problem. Re-ask with validation error. Priority must be one of low, medium, high. Previous JSON was this. The model can fix what it can see. The trap most tutorials skip is silent repair of wrong but valid data. If the model returns priority high when the ticket clearly says billing question, JSON parsing will not save you. Even a schema will not save you unless it encodes the rule you care about. So keep deterministic repair narrow. Do not invent missing fields. Do not map urgent to high unless your product explicitly defines that mapping. Log when repair happened. Log when validation passed after repair. That gives you evidence for evals later. Invalid JSON is noisy. Wrong valid JSON is the real danger. This ladder sits at the boundary between model text and program state. Once data crosses that boundary, your agent may call tools, write memory, update a ticket, or decide it is done. So malformed output is not just a parsing annoyance, it is a state safety issue. Structured output features from providers can reduce the problem, and you should use them when they are available in your stack. But you still need validation, logging, and bounded failure. The same pattern shows up later in tool calling. Parse the request, validate permissions, execute, and record what happened. Here is a safe 10-minute exercise on your machine. No outside systems needed. Create 5 strings: valid JSON, fence JSON, JSON with a trailing comma, JSON with curly quotes, and JSON with a valid shape but an invalid priority. Write repair JSON text, parse JSON, and validate. Then write a fake ask again function that returns a corrected string when it sees the validation error. Finally, assert that a permanently broken string raises after 2 attempts. This tiny test teaches the habit. Repair cheap syntax locally, ask the model only with evidence, and stop on schedule. 3 beats to remember. First, do not turn every invalid JSON response into another model call. Parse, then repair the boring stuff in code. Fences, trailing commas, and quote normalization. Second, when you re-ask, include the exact parse or validation error. The model cannot fix what you hide from it. Third, cap the latter at 2 attempts, then fail loudly with evidence. That is what makes an agent debuggable. New Agent Foundations episode daily. If you want the paid libraries, templates, and deeper production patterns, those are at islabs.ai.